What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be breaking down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what the data suggested for today and how this could affect the market going into tomorrow, and some very, very important supports to be watching for as time goes on. But before I break anything down, all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 6 free stocks. If you deposit $500 into the account, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks plus 6 months of level 2 data. And putting in $25,000 or more guarantees you 70 free stocks plus 12 months of level 2 data. This could be very beneficial for trading, and this offer ends in just about 13 days from now. So check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. The market is quite boring right now. If you look at the market, we're just going back and forth between supply and demand, and we haven't officially broken some key support to turn much more bearish. And when I say that, I know the market could drop a few points and come back a few points. That so far is not like a super bearish move. Overall, the market has been on a slight uptrend. We do have potential to break down. We could see SPY in the market start sinking, right? But we have to break some key support first. We have to see this orange trend line break, and we have to lose our 50 EMA on the 4-hour time frame on SPY for us to turn more bearish. So the question is, will that happen? Are we about to see a bearish move to the downside, or is the market going to hold up from here? I'm going to be giving you guys more insights about this and then break down what happened for today. Let's first talk about some news and stuff before I break down the charts. First off, what's going on with the news? We had NEO's earnings. NEO did relatively well. Other companies are just doing okay. And then we also have more retail stocks coming out for earnings. We have Chewy, we have GameStop, which is going to be a big one for retail, not to mention AI. And then we have like Dollar General and just a couple of others. So we'll be watching all of these very, very carefully. When it comes to the economic data, I just want to call out that the data that came out was pretty good for the most part. The job openings were a little bit low, but this was as expected because with the high interest rate environment, it's no surprise for us to see data like this. And if anything, the Fed is looking for economic contractions to bring inflation down, right? So we're getting those contractions, at least from the labor market, and that's exactly what the Fed wants, which is decent for the markets. And then the rest of the data was quite good. I would say when it comes to the services data, showing some strength. The reason why that's good is because it suggests that as inflation is dropping, right, the economy is not necessarily in a recessionary or like super tough recession right now, according to the data at least. I know the data can be manipulated. I know I don't fully trust the data, but I'm just talking based off the data we have to go by because this is what the market looks like. This is what the market looks at. So this is important because with the services data showing some strength, it's very probable that the GDP is not going to be like negative for the quarter. And with this positive growth that we're seeing, we could still kind of like delay the recession for a couple of months out. It may not happen until like next year. So with that being said, guys, the market liked this. The market was celebrating. Not saying that we're in the best of economies or anything like that. I'm just saying that from the market's point of view, the market saw this as something to just push over, and this is why we got this little pump going into tomorrow. Okay, for tomorrow we have some balance of trade data. We have the exports and imports all coming out an hour before market open. We also have the non-farm productivity and unit labor costs all coming out an hour before market open. This could cause some volatility. Besides that, then we have some crude oil data coming out. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing too big coming out for tomorrow. At 11:30 a.m., we have the 17-week bill auction. That's pretty much it. Nothing else too crazy for tomorrow. Looking at the fear and greed index, this is getting closer to the extreme greed. The market is still holding up. We're still quite greedy, and we're still seeing extreme greed making up the majority of momentum indicators that we're seeing thus far. Greed and neutral ratings are still out there. The VIX is starting to try to bounce a bit, but there's no sign of us truly getting a big breakout yet, and we'll be watching this very carefully. Anyways, that is it for the data. Now let's talk about the charts. How are things looking? Well, guys, I'm sure you guys noticed there could be like a head and shoulders like structure developing on SPY right here that's kind of slanted. Could that play out? Maybe, but we have to watch our levels just for safety. Unfortunately, guys, there's no sign of us turning bearish yet, like super bearish. I mean, like for a bigger drop, at least like a 5 to 10 point drop, there's no sign of it. Excuse me, there's no sign of it yet, as the market is still very stationary, kind of stuck between these different supply and demand zones. So, what I'm going to be watching for, especially going into tomorrow, is do we get some kind of rejection And then do we make an attempt to bounce a little higher? Are we just going to continue to range trade like this? This seems very probable. We might just continue to go back and forth for an extended period of time. And this is all the market's been doing. So anticipate something like this. We could even close very flats tomorrow and just continue to go sideways. However, if you want to be bullish, okay, and I think that we're most likely going to do something like this, but to turn bullish, you want to see SPY try to break 457.5 to 458. If we manage to break this resistance, this supply zone, we could see one more push all the way up to fill this gap in the 459s. Then we could get rejected from there and come right back down. I think that's what would happen if we do end up getting a break to the upside like that. Uh, just like how like we hit these resistance levels, we reject, we come back up, we reject. Could we get one more push up before we reject? If we break 457.5 to 458, we would turn a bit more bullish. Then we could see the bullish case play out. All right, I'm going to actually color code each of these. And then to be bearish, it's very simple, guys. If you want to truly be bearish, you want to see SPY break the 454s and come right back down to 452. That would be the more bearish case, right? Because on SPY, when you look at the 4-hour time frame, we have the 50 EMA as key support at the 454 area. If we lose that, I would turn a bit more bearish. So far, we have not done that. So obviously, the market is indecisive. It doesn't know which way it wants to go. If you look at what happened today, we got a nice pop. We came back down. We popped again, traded sideways throughout the entire day. So far, the blue trend line is the most likely possibility. You guys see the blue line here? That is most likely what's going to happen. If we want to be a little more bullish, we could get one more pop if we try to get it back above like 458 or so around that range. Then there could be one more pop, but that move is likely going to fail and we're going to likely come back down because of the tight resistance up here. And if you want to be bearish, just like immediately if we get some bad news, then you just want to see this orange trend line right here break. You guys see how we're holding this orange line at the bottom? We have to break that to turn bearish. We haven't done it thus far. All right, so that's my simple analysis. The market's very indecisive, so the blue trend line, this blue path I have drawn out is most likely what we're going to see. But just to be safe, wait and see. If we do get a pop, we might reject and come back down. And if we do just break the orange trend line, we turn bearish. So that's what I'm seeing for SPY thus far. Sorry, guys, I can't give you guys just one prediction right now because the market is super indecisive and things are just looking trickier and trickier as time goes on. Let's talk about Tesla. How is Tesla looking, in my opinion? Tesla's looking quite interesting. If anything, Tesla has some relative strength. It's even pushing during the after hours thus far. And we're going to be watching it very, very carefully. So, what's interesting about Tesla is it's holding up decently. We're actually nearing a bullish cross in the PPO, which suggests that it might actually push a little higher, which makes me think that there could be a pop coming to SPY possibly, but no guarantees yet. Now, I just want to call out that when you look at Tesla, this thing is continuing to hold up nicely. We're making higher highs and higher lows. Let me just pull up the daily chart just to show you what it looks like. Just like this. Higher highs and higher lows are continually being made on Tesla. It's continuing to uptrend quite decently, and we're continuing to see it just popping over and over again. So we touched the trend line of support, we bounced, touched it again, we bounced, came here, we touched it, we bounced, came again and bounced. It's holding support quite nicely. Now, we have a wick that formed, which suggests that we might get a backtest of the trend line before it tries to continue higher. But as of right now, every time we touch the support trend line, we tend to bounce. That's why you want to watch these levels. So on Tesla stock, let me just show you guys some important levels. Very close to where we have our 234.5 area to 235. That's where our 200 EMA happens to be. Watch 238 as support. If we lose 238, there is some support at 237.3 right now at the 50 EMA. So this 237 to 238 area. If we lose that, watch 235. If we break below this 200 EMA, we could turn a little bearish and Tesla could fall back to the lower 230s. But then be very careful if it does drop down because it has the trend line it keeps bouncing off of, right? So if you want to be bearish on Tesla, let me show you something very interesting. If you think Tesla's going to fall, guys, this is what you want to watch for. You want to see it do something like this and come back to the trend line, but you need a bad piece of news and you need Tesla to basically lose the trend line and lose 230 to turn bearish. That's the more bearish case. You need to lose 230, close below it, and that's going to be what plays out. If you're bullish on Tesla, you want to see this thing kind of like come down and bounce and continue to establish higher highs and higher lows and make its way right back up and start pushing back up towards this blue trend line. If we break the blue trend line, we're going to turn really bullish, but that's going to be the level to watch for. We want to get back above 250. That's going to help Tesla start pushing much higher. What do I think Tesla's going to do though? Are we going to be bearish? Are we going to be bullish? I'm just trying these out just to show you the levels. If we break 242, you want to see it break 246 to turn bullish and start pushing higher. If you're bearish, you want to see it lose basically 235 and then come to the lower 230s and then eventually lose 230. What do I think Tesla's going to do? I think the most likely possibility, okay, is that Tesla might actually drop again. We might backtest this trend line and just like bounce right back up. We might see the stock attempt to push higher one more time like this, then come back down and kind of trade sideways for a bit tomorrow because Wednesdays tend to not be the strongest days for Tesla. We might get a slight green day, but we might see a lot of sideways price action. I think that Tesla's going to attempt to hold up for the time being. My analysis on Tesla could shift if we lose our trend line of support. So far, it has not done that, so there's no reason to turn more bearish. Now, I'm going to look at Nvidia first before the QQQ. Nvidia is holding up nicely so far. It's still holding up. Okay, I want to show you guys the PPO right now on Nvidia, looking pretty good right now. We got a bullish cross on the MACD. We actually broke our high during the after hours, and it looks like it's trying to push up to fill this gap at 467. We haven't fully done that yet, so I can see Nvidia pushing more, and this could help the QQQ push up as well. Right, I drew out two possibilities in the morning. Right, I was talking about the bearish case after the data, the bullish case. I drew this out, and that's actually very close to what happened, the bullish case. So with that being said, Nvidia still looks bullish. It's still uptrending, and there's no sign it's done just yet. We have this gap to fill up here. For tomorrow, there could be another liquidity grab like this, and it might just try to bounce up higher. And we could see it try to break towards 468. If we break that, we could see a backtest of like 471, then a rejection. But I think that there is technically a possibility it goes a little higher. So this is very probable on Nvidia, a little drop and a bounce. And we're going to be watching to see if we can break resistance. Watch 462, 459 to 460, and 457 as support. For resistance, you're going to be watching 467. That's where we have this gap. If it breaks down, watch 468.75, 471 or so, and then we're going to be watching for more upside. On Apple stock, we're looking decent, but I just want to call out that Apple looks like it might actually drop a little bit because it pumped so hard like it was nothing, and we have these imbalances that are now like developing on it. I think that it's going to make its way down to at least 192.5. We have this imbalance down here, and eventually maybe even 192, and it might actually bounce after that. So I could see Apple doing something like this, where it kind of like pops a bit, then it drops just a little bit back down to 192, and then just kind of trades sideways from here. And it might even drop a little lower if we lose 192, but we'll just have to see for now. But I could see a little drop on Apple that could slow the market down a little bit. So just be very careful when it comes to these different levels. Make sure you watch them all very carefully. And then last but not least, guys, for the QQQ, with Apple potentially selling off, this could slow the triple Q down. We went over like a bullish and a bearish case. So I still hold the same view about this because if the QQQ manages to break and hold 388, if we get above it, this thing could push for 390 to fill the gap. That's like the more bullish case. I'm going to redraw this just to make this like easy to understand. So if we keep pushing, right, you want to be watching 388. If we get above that, if it breaks and holds this level like this, we're going to be bullish, and this thing will get one more attempt for like 390 before it rejects again like that, in my opinion. And if we're bearish, you basically want to see the QQQ lose the support. So we've been holding these levels up here. We have this support down here at 383.75. If we lose this 383 zone, so let's just say like we barely get much of a balance and just starts failing immediately because of Apple, this is the more bearish case, and we just start breaking 383. If we lose that, it's going to start sinking much lower towards 380 very quickly. So we'll be watching this very carefully. I do want to call out though that the QQQ is not looking extremely strong. The 4-hour time frame is looking a little weak. I could see a little attempt to pop looking at the 4-hour PPO. There could be a pop and drop like move, or even like a drop from here. So what I find very probable to happen to the QQQ is it's going to try to retest 388. I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to do this. This is what I think is most likely going to happen. And we'll just have to see if it rejects or not. I'm not sure if it's going to reject or not. And if it does, kind of break this, I think that there could be one more attempt to go higher before it comes back down like that. So it all depends on how we end up reacting to 388. But I see that being tested very, very soon. So look for it to pop a little bit and we'll see if it rejects off 388, or if it breaks that and goes a little higher towards like the very low 390s and then rejects. That's what I think is very probable for the QQQ looking at this trend. And finally, I think that's it for the main five. I'm going to end it from here for the main five. Let's just be very quick with the rest of them. Looking at just a few other tickers, SoFi is showing some life. SoFi was just barely in the green, but we're getting a very, very tight PPO. No sign of it breaking down just yet. In my video from yesterday, I was talking about how this thing might pop one more time, especially looking at the daily charts. And we could be trying to make our way close towards this this wick right here. So I could see this thing pushing for about 8.25. If it breaks that, 8.5 is next in a rejection. I think it could pop a little bit more than reject. The Russell 2000, excuse me, sorry guys. Russell 2000 is looking quite decent. Nice uptrend thus far, but it pumped so much and started coming down. So it doesn't look like it's done just yet. The daily looks like it's going to backtest this breakout zone. 181.76 to 182 could be retested before it bounces. So look for a little drop and bounce on it. I think that's very probable. For Microsoft stock, we got a nice bounce. Very, very nice bounce. I was talking about this thing bouncing, trying to fill this gap. I think it's going to fill the gap and push up to 375. So the market might pop a little bit thanks to that. But then it might reject off 375 or so and come right back down and start cooling off to 369. Look for a bounce and then a drop most likely afterwards. On AMD, got a decent close on the daily. Look for a little backtest of 1 at 20, then a rejection. I find that very probable. I think AMD may pop and drop. For the VIX, unfortunately, the VIX is not giving us any confirmation of a bounce just yet. It actually looks kind of bearish on the daily time frame. Might actually come back down to the lower 12s, so there's no confirmation it's breaking out. I told you to watch it break the 20 EMA in order for us to get more bearish signals. Hasn't really done that yet on the daily time frame. It's still holding below the 14 area. It still failed to break out, so there's no sign of the market getting a big sell-off yet. The VIX is still looking too weak. Now, could the VIX drop a little bit? Sure, which suggests there could be a little upside coming to the markets, causing that. But the VIX is also trying to base around 12, so I can see it dropping a little bit, meaning the market may pop a bit, and we'll see if it bounces around this 12 area. It could be that the market's going to get hit with some tight resistance, and then in order for us to turn really bearish in the market for SPY and all these others, I want to see this thing break the 20 EMA. We haven't done it yet, so there's no confirmation yet. Same thing with the SQQQ. It was trying to break out and it failed to break the 20 EMA, coming back down. Looks a little bearish. Might see it backtest 15.9 very, very soon. The dollar is actually starting to show some strength, which is another signal that could slow things down. It's going to be testing our 200 EMA, watch 104.25. If we break that, this thing could turn more bullish. If we reject, if it kind of pumps and rejects, this could be another bullish signal for the stock market. For Coinbase, I was talking about some downside. It actually looks a little bearish on the daily. It has a gap to fill around 133. I think it's going to fill this gap and come down a bit and then bounce. I think that there's a little downside coming to it. For Google, got a nice little bounce. I don't think we fully fill this gap. I'm going to be looking for a little push for about 133 and then a rejection. 134, I mean. Watch it pop a little bit, then come back down. For Amazon, we were talking about a bounce yesterday. I was saying it might actually bounce and come down later. Amazon did end up getting somewhat of a bounce. I think that it might pop towards this resistance at 147, then reject and make its way back down towards 145. So I see a little pop and drop on Amazon. Daily is not looking the strongest, so I still see a little downside. And for Meta, looking weaker than expected. I was thinking that Meta would actually bounce, try to fill this gap. Meta came just short because of some bad news, and it is looking a little weaker. So I think we might see this thing sink a little bit more. I think that it's going to come back down towards 315. And we'll be watching that as well. All right, guys. So the market's looking very indecisive. SPY is not collapsing yet, so I can't turn really bearish yet, but I want to be watching our levels just to see if we can get that pullback. Uh, we're not ready yet. And that's the thing I was warning you guys about earlier last week, even part of last week. We're just not ready to see the market breaking down yet. We have to watch and see if the trend line breaks. The blue trend line I have drawn out for SPY is most likely what's going to happen. If we break resistance, we could get one more pop before we drop back down. And in order for us to turn bearish, you need to see this orange trend line below break. You have to watch for that. As of right now, it has not happened. So the most likely possibility will be the blue trend line you see right here, guys, I think we're most likely just going to get a very boring sideways price action day. And we're going to be waiting for some more data on either maybe like Thursday or Friday to cause a bigger move. So for now, that's what I'm seeing. Thank you all so much for listening. Tesla to the moon alongside the whole market, as the long term is still very bright. I still think there's a possibility of a pullback. It's just that I'm not getting any confirmation of a breakdown yet. I have to wait and see because the market is very tricky. The market's very indecisive, and we just have to be patient. All right, guys, that's what I have for this one. Be very patient. Give the market some time. Let it do its thing. Then we'll watch and see if we get some kind of break. And until then, until I see you guys again, please take care, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Thank you again, and peace out.